So I was thinking my revamp of the Rarest drops video needed another revamp. As you guys pointed out, I made some minor mistakes, and those mistakes I tried to correct in the comment section. So if you come straight from the Rarest drops video, I would advise you to check out that comment first. So that video aside, this video will focus on the items that I forgot to include from the last video. For this one, I'll do a different approach to the topic. We'll go through every single loot container and look at all the drops possible from each one of them. In the respective bag, we'll then look at what the rarest drop is. Please note that everything I stated in the last video still stands in regards of the definitions, with the only difference being that I don't consider a rare drop an item with a low drop rate. I'll redefine that term by saying that it's rare to encounter by drop. I needed to redefine it because something like the Davies key is guaranteed from the beach bum, but the beach bum is just insanely rare. Therefore, you could consider the Davies key a rare drop to encounter. I'll also not be featuring any items I covered in the first part, so make sure you watch the first part before you proceed into this one. I want to stay true to the rules I made in the last video, so every seasonal drop will not be included. This automatically eliminates a lot of possible very rare drops, so I'll be sure to mention it when the time comes. With that out of the way, let's get into the first loot container, which is the purple bag. Now we can start off by removing all the tiered items, and I don't think anyone's going to be sad about that. Then we'll have a go at removing all the seasonal drops, and I've made a single exception with the sand pails, and I'll get into that. But for now, let's go into the rarities choice, and sorry guys, but for this one I had to let the magic mushroom die. Now I really wanted the magic mushroom to stay one of the rarest drops in the game, since the grey blobs just won't budge. They just had to add it into the fungal cavern. As you can see, I slowly remove items from the loot container's drop table in accordance to their rarity. So now, all that's left is the white drake egg, the beach drinks, and the sand pail. Now, the white drake egg that heals is known to be the hardest one to acquire. You see this bastard on screen? That's the guy you gotta kill. It's really not that difficult to seek him out, but you'll need some time on your hands because this drop is rather rare. Now, the reason I kept the sand pails is because the sand pails are unobtainable, but I would consider them a rare item. Not the rarest item, because these sand pails were offered in some free packs. Because of these packs, the pails are introduced into the game on and off, but usually it's during the month of the Mad God that these are very apparent. So, as you might have noticed, the ones remaining are the beach drinks. Note that in this case, my redefinition really counts. These are guaranteed drop, making their drop rate rather high. But the circumstances you'd need to have in place for you to be able to acquire these, well, that's a different story. The blue bag is really easy to get through. We start off by eliminating all the regular stat pots because, honestly, they're not that rare. I'd like to make a note on this one because if you were to consider the rarest item, not the rarest drop, the candy of ominous spells would easily win the blue bag category. But since I'll have to consider all year dropping items, I'll have to give it to the mystery stat pot. The mystery stat pot is only obtainable all year round in the glitch. You could argue that the greater stat pots could offer some competition, but since most of the greater stat pots are guaranteed in their respective drop location, I would give it to the mystery stat pot. You are free to disagree. GG on that blue bag, let's get on to the sign bag. Now this is where things get interesting, so let's start off by removing all the tiered items and their respective reskins. I'll make a bold move and just remove the ones I think are the least rare. What we're left with is a conflicting loot table. We have the freezing Quiver, which is a reskin of the behemoth quivers. Behemoth, who cares? I'll sadly have to exclude it because it's a seasonal drop, but I will say this. This could potentially outcompete the Vial by drop. Most players are not aware that it drops from a sign bag, since it's a reskin of a white bag drop. And honestly, I don't see the meaning either. Oh well, here it goes, and the winner of the sign bag category is the Vial of Pure Darkness. This is going swift, guys. 4 minutes in, and we've already covered 3 loot containers. Hold the fuck up. I think we forgot something in between, didn't we? What about the pink and the brown bag? To be honest, it's just because they're irrelevant. We don't have a need to rank the rarity of tiered items, do we? Please don't suggest that video idea, please. And as we all know, the Aston Martin, the limousine loot bag, the brown bag is only reserved for the VIP items. That is the health pot and mana pot. Shit, I still can't believe that after 7.5 years of playtime, I still mess up mana and magic. Oh, well. And for the other loot container I won't feature in this video, the egg basket, already covered that in the first part, so go watch that if you haven't, because that'll be the final remark before we move into orange bag territory. Now, the waters are dangerous around here, because to be quite frankly, I don't know shit about the drop rates of the orange bags. I did ask the PPE expert himself, I Eat Kitties, and he kindly shoved me in the correct direction. As the items wither away, a fun fact is that the Oryx Awesome set doesn't drop anymore, but it is tradable, so if you have one of the set pieces of the old Oryx Awesome set, I would suggest you to keep it because it's a collector's item. I was explicitly told that the locked reactor is rather rare since it only drops from the alien UFO. I guess that could count as an event drop. For the rest of the items, I included the Crystal Cavern set. Hold on, that seal's not supposed to be there. Oh well, now it is. I also included parts from the ST set from the Snake Pit, and some set pieces from the Shaitan's Lair as well. On these ones, I'm seriously only going by location. I also decided not to include the alien reactors on here. As you can see in the rush, I removed all the pet skins too. Within this category, I was told that the Headless Horseman skin is very rare. On the Orange Bag Hall of Fame, you can position the Headless Horseman skin yourself, because I'm not sure how I would narrow down this list any further, apart from that goddamn seal. The red bag is rather easy to get by, because we all know that the Dominion ammo wins without competition. For real, the Ring of Decades win this category. Now, the real pain in the ass here is the white bag drops, because there's a lot to cover here. I started off by marking every white bag that I either had already included in the last part, or I just didn't find very rare. Then, we're just narrowing down from there. I was unsure of the ones marked in yellow, but they'll go. We'll keep on cleaning up this loot table, and it'll finally look something like this, which I think is a little bit more reasonable than before. We have the event white, which I failed to include in the last video. That being said, it doesn't matter how comparably rare the Crystallized Fangs Venom is to the other event whites. If I were to rank it like I did in the last video, I would position it either top tier 2 or bottom tier 1. But this video doesn't care about that. So the remaining white bags are the Beer Guard whites. And if you know of these items, you might have seen it coming. As I discussed in my latest installment of the Rarest series, the Rarest Enemies, go check that out by the way. The Beer Guard is one of the rarest enemies in this game. Now we just have to lay 2 and 2 together. The Beer Guard is rare. The Beer Guard has rare drops. Therefore the drops might be very rare, maybe even super. And as I see it, that might be the case. Not many people know about these items, so let's do a stat breakdown. The Greater Hosen is a peculiar item. On taking damage, you have a risk of getting the hallucination debuff. On the other hand, you have an equal chance of getting an attack boost. You could see this section of the item as a fair exchange, but the rest of this item is just the tier 7 armor, with an extra added attack, 2 dex, and 20 HP. You still get the vibe that it's a UT since it has this unique ability, but the low fame bonus, 3%? 3%? This item is... what? Yeah, this item might be useless in most scenarios, but it might come in handy if you want to deal a lot of damage. The other white bag that comes along follows the same trait. The low fame bonus. The poison's damage can be comparable to the tier 4 toxin, but the throw time is 0.3 seconds less than the average tiered potion, and the radius is only outperformed by the plague poison. On equip, it gives you 2 def and 2 dexterity, and you'll get drunk, but be def boosted when you use it. All this tells me is that this poison is good for crowd control and a defensive playstyle. I'm not actually done yet, guys. We still have a bag to cover, the Mark bag. And the seasonal drops? The items at the bottom right doesn't really drop naturally that often, and the treasures are sort of rare, but then again, not really. The tarot cards are the only remaining ones. Honestly, I haven't gotten a single tarot card ever since they removed that from the Tinkerer. I'm not sure if that's a coincidence. In this case, I would say the most reasonable thing to do is lock out all the tarot cards that drop from very accessible locations. Only one exception being made by the Abyss tarot card, since that is only obtainable by the Troom boss in the Abyss. Even so, I would like to say that the Candyland tarot card and the Shaitan's tarot card is a bit more rare than the Troom boss. And that wraps up the yellow bag container. Let's get into the comparisons between the top picks I made for each loot container. I would say we could easily eliminate the blue bag, as well as the red bag. I really want to include the orange bag drops on the list. I simply lack the first-hand experience to conclude this, so this what you see in front of you is the best I could do. I want to leave the rest up to you. There might be some of the orange bags that you might disagree with, that I've removed, so I'll let the orange bag be and I'll just leave the cyan bag alone. Now let's compare in between the final contenders. The beach drinks, the Beer Guard whites, and the tarot cards. Under the tarot cards, I've specifically pointed out the ones that I thought was the most rare. Of these two, one of them is obtained in the Shaitan's Lair and the other one in the Candyland. I thought that comparably to the other tarot cards, these two locations were the rarest to encounter. Now, which of these drops are gonna go first? And I would say that it's the mark bag. Specifically the tarot cards being the lesser rare in this case. Please have my reinvented definition of a rare drop in mind when I say this, but honestly, I might go with the beach drinks. I guess that would be way too boring, but it's just impossible to really farm for beach bum. You'll just have to find it either by pure coincidence or just realm hopping. I would say that farming beer gods is less of a pain than hopping realms constantly, having to deal with TP cooldown, and maybe even having to rely on pure coincidence in the end. So with my honest choice, I think I would go with the beach drinks as the rarest drop to encounter. But still note that the beer god whites are insanely rare. Just imagine if they added a white bag to like the candy gnome or maybe even the beach bum. Holy shit, would that be rare? But on the other hand, wouldn't that also be very interesting? If you're listening, Deca, that's your cue. Let's make the beach bum white bag happen. And with that, I think it's time to wrap up this video. Remember to like and also leave your comment if there's something that you really disagree with, but please do it in the top tier items I mentioned. Usually I'm just overfloated with the same corrections in the comment section, so make sure you read other comments too and just like the comments you agree with. Although I've spent quite some time making these commentary videos, I still manage to sneak in some minor mistakes once in a while. That's why the major mistakes are the ones I would really appreciate to be pointed out. Last thing you'd want as a YouTuber is to be the source of misinformation. If there's any mistakes, I'll make sure to pin a top comment down below where I correct these things. With that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Plant vs. Zombies music because I'm in love with that soundtrack.